Welcome to Rutra's YouTube channel. Today we are going to see obstetrics, references William Obstetrics 24 edition. Okay, so we already finished maternal anatomy and physiology. Today we are going to see congenital genitourinary abnormalities. In that, what are the subtopics we are having? Genitourinary development, mesonephric remnants, bladder and perineal abnormalities, and so on. Today we are going to see all the subtopics in detail. Okay. So first of all, congenital genitourinary abnormalities. So if there is a developmental abnormalities, what and all it may lead to? It may lead to infertilities, spontaneous abortion, mid-pregnancy and preterm delivery, or complication during pregnancy. Okay, genitourinary tract development. Embryologically, in females, the external genitalia, gonads, and Mullerian duct each derived from different primordia. Okay, and there is a close association with this urinary tract and hindgut. So if there is any abnormality in genitalia, there is a chance the urinary tract also has some abnormality. Okay, in this slide is just the development of the embryo, like fertilization, cleavage, compassion, differentiation, and etc. In that, please focus on mesoderm. Okay, please focus on this mesoderm formation and mesoderm spreading, which is important. Okay, embryology of the urinary system. Okay, during third and fifth gestational week, the intermediate mesoderm on each side of the fetus, the urogenital ridge, begins to the development of the what? Urogenital tract. This further divides into gonad or genital ridge, which will become the ovary, and also into the nephrogenic cord. And what this Mullerian duct will become? This Mullerian duct will become, Mullerian duct is also known as paramesonephric duct, which forms fallopian tube, uterus, vagina. Okay, so yeah, you see, no, Mullerian duct becomes the fallopian tube, uterus, and vagina. Okay, here comes the embryology of the genitourinary tract. We are going to see, quite interesting. If you see this pic, okay, these are mesonephros, mesonephron. These are mesonephric duct. Okay. Mm. So the mesonephric duct forms ureteric bud. Okay, these are ureteric bud, which is what? Which is cephalic to the mesonephros. This is ureteric bud. Okay, this ureteric bud and metanephros undergo differentiation to form kidney. Okay, this metanephros undergo differentiation to form the kidney, and this is known as coca. This coca, no, is the opening for the bladder as well as the alimentary opening for the bladder as well as the alimentary tract. This coca, when it is joined together with the urodetal septum, it leads to what? Urogenital sinus as well as the rectum. These urogenital sinus, which further undergo development and forms bladder, urethra as well as the vagina. Okay, this is the formation of the urinary tract. Now we come to the formation of the genital tract. Here comes mesonephric duct. Okay, and here is a Mullerian duct. This Mullerian duct fuse together to form what? Uterus. Okay, this Mullerian duct fuse together from the uterus. This uterus and urogenital sinus joins to form what? Vagina. Joins to form the vagina. So this only we are going to see later. Okay. So first the urinary tract develops from mesonephrines or Wolfram duct. Okay. During fourth and fifth week, what happens? This mesonephric duct gives rise to ureteric bud, and this ureteric bud lengthens and differentiation of the metanephrines, which led to the formation of final kidney. And cloaca is the common opening, which led to the formation of embryonic urinary genital and alimentary tract. And seventh week, it becomes divided by the uroretal septum to create rectum as well as the urogenital sinus. This urogenital sinus is divided into urinary bladder, female urethra as well as the distal vagina. Okay, here This Mullerian duct extend downward and meet and fuse together in the midline and forms a uterus in 10th week. Okay, this fusion extends caudally and cephalady, means anterior and posterior or head to tail, with cellular proliferation of the upper portion forms a thick wedge or uterine shape, and dissolution of cells in the lower portion forms the uterine cavity. At the distal end of the fused Mullerian ducts contacts the urogenital sinus to form what? Sinovaginal bulbs. This sinovaginal bulbs later it forms vaginal plate, later forms vaginal lumen. This lumen remains separated from the urogenital sinus and later it forms the hymenal membrane. Okay. Now we come to mesonephric remnants. Okay. These are principal deformities that arise from defective Mullerian duct. There are so many abnormalities here, like segmental or Mullerian hyperplasia, agenesis. In that we are having vaginal, cervical, uterine, fundal, tubal, and combined anomalies. Then we are having enocornuate uterus, uterine didelphys, bicornuate uterus, septate uterus, arcuate, and diethylstilbestrol related. Okay, this is the picture which shows what? It shows all the mesonephric remnants. Okay. We're going to see like one by one. First of all, vaginal abnormalities, which is also known as MRKH syndrome. During this, there is a vaginal agenesis. Agenesis means what? There is not it is not well developed. Okay, vaginal agenesis. So, or hyperplasia. Hyperplasia means what? The organ is immature or the size is smaller when compared to the normal size. Okay. So when there is a vaginal agenesis or uterine agenesis, this syndrome may also show abnormalities in renal, skeletal, and as well as the auditory system, and it may lead to like obstetric complications and okay. Next, cervical abnormalities. Cervical abnormalities can be partial or complete agenesis, duplication, and longitudinal septa. Okay, so if you're not able to correct the cervical abnormalities, it may lead to the complication in pregnancy and IVF or intravitreal fertilization. In vitro fertilization with gestation surrogacy is in one of the options here. And we having uterine abnormalities. Here unicornuate uterus class 2, which is nothing but underdevelopment or rudimentary horn. It can be communicating or non-communicating in an endometrial cavity. Usually, these uterus. I'll see. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, this is uterus and this is fallopian tube. Okay, in between the fusion of this uterus and fallopian tube, there is underdeveloped rudimentary horn. Okay, so usually for diagnosis we do 3D sonography and MR imaging or magnetic resonance imaging. Importantly, 40% of the affected women will have renal anomalies. Okay, so I have given a link in my description of the video. This shows the unicornuate uterus. Okay, it's very interesting video, so make sure you watch that video. Okay, then we are having uterine didelphys. Uterine didelphys. From the name itself, it's saying two. Okay, there is double uterus, vagina, as well as cervix. Okay, it is due to the complete lack of fusion of the Mullerian duct, which may lead to increased risk of miscarriage, preterm birth, and malpresentation. Okay, next we are having bicornuate uterus or class 4. This related common anomaly forms a lack of fundal fusion. So it will be like a heart shape. This uterus is going to be like a heart shape because there is two fundals and there is only one cervix as well as the vagina. So there may be a risk for adverse obstetrical outcomes that include miscarriage, preterm birth, and malpresentation. And we having septate uterus or class 5. It can be complete or partial longitudinal uterine cavity septum. Okay. Septum anomalies associated with diminished fertility, miscarriage, preterm delivery, as well as the malpresentation. Next, we're having arcuate uterus or class 6. So it is just mild deviation from the normally developed uterus. So some of the studies report there is no increased adverse associated outcomes. Okay, there is no adverse. Okay. Next, we're having diethyl stilbestrol reproductive tract abnormalities. So stilbestrol is used for obstetric complication, but it outcome is not that much good. It led to some of the abnormalities. Usage of this diet is silvestrol, so which includes vaginal cell adenocarcinoma, cervical intraepithelial neoplasia, and vagina adenosis, and which may also lead to shortened upper uterine segments, T-shaped and other irregular cavities, and fallopian tube abnormalities. Okay, then fallopian tube abnormalities. So if there is an unpaired distal ends of the Mullerian ducts rise to fallopian tube. So any congenital anomalies include accessory ostia, complete or segmental tuberogenesis, and several embryonic cystic remnants. In uterine flexion, we have an anteflexion. Anteflexion is nothing but there is an anterior flexion of the uterine fundus, okay, which is related to the cervix and the sagittal plane. So repositioning, which will be helpful in this case. And retroflexion means there is a posterior uterine fundal flexion in the sagittal plane. So the common symptoms include discomfort, pelvic pressure, voiding dysfunction. That may include urinary frequency and retention. Here comes sacculation. Sacculation nothing but in this picture you can see there is an anterior wall sacculation. Anterior wall sacculation, which means there is a dilation. Okay, lower uterine segmental dilation. Why there is a dilation? To accommodate the developing fetus. Okay, this is known as sacculation. Okay, we'll go to next slide. Uterine torsion. It is common during pregnancy for the uterus to rotate to the right side. Okay, uterine torsion exits 180 degree to cause torsion. Okay, mostly caused by the uterine leiomyosis, Mullerian anomalies, fetal malpresentation, pelvic adhesion, and laxity of the abdominal wall. Okay, thank you. So we finished mater anatomy, maternal physiology, as well as the genital development. So from next video, we will start our second chapter, which is presentation, embryogenesis, as well as development. Okay, thank you. Bye, friends.